Man, oh man, do we have a lot to talk about on this edition of Out of the Starting Gate. What a week we had. Rebel Week this past week. Of course, this week we've got a lot of good stuff. I'm Matt Dinerman. I'm the track announcer here at Oaklawn. And every week here on our Oaklawn YouTube page, Out of the Starting Gate, another edition this week. Here's how things are going to work. I'm going to do this solo. We're going to steer the ship ourselves here. Get your seatbelt on. Like I said, a lot to go over. We start off with recaps of stakes races on Rebel Week. Then we're going to get to other races that we saw that really sort of caught our eye during Rebel Week. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about this week's races. There's going to be a lot of content for that as well. So after Rebel Week, the fun continues. A lot of good stuff to go over. Let's get to the stakes recaps first for last week, shall we? We go to Friday afternoon. We didn't have a stake on Thursday. Friday was the Tri-Vista Overnight Stakes for filly and mare routers. The low odds favorite, Azeri, getting another win here at Oaklawn. Second stakes win at the meeting for her. Here's the replay. This was a nice effort. She got an 89 buyer. And before this race, she was last seen as the runner-up behind Nitrogen in the Grade 3 Bayakoa. We're going to see Nitrogen this week. We'll talk about that later. Azeri, she's won 3 races at this meeting. A starter allowance, the Oaklawn Sports Overnight Stakes, now the Tri-Vista. She has just continued to improve. Mentally, we saw her do something that we hadn't seen her do recently, which is in a route race, stalk the pace and run on and win. Was very push button in this win. I just think physically, mentally, she's going in this direction up. It doesn't look like she's quite good enough to win a race like the Apple Blossom. I would for sure give it a try if I was the Connections to at the very least try to get a Grade 1 placing. She's got better than ever form right now, but she's going to have to turn the tables on Nitrogen in the Apple Blossom, assuming Nitrogen makes it there. Again, she's going to prep for the Apple Blossom this weekend, and Azeri finished behind her in the Bayakoa. Nonetheless, I'm thinking that Azeri is a graded stakes caliber filly at this point, and Mark Cassie's done a really good job, her trainer, getting her to this point. She came here as a starter allowance type of horse, and now she is a very much stakes horse and a graded stakes caliber stakes horse. So Azeri, nice effort from her on Friday, was very push button and won for fun. I don't know who she beat in terms of who she needs to beat down the road to beat graded stakes horses. She didn't beat a graded stakes caliber field, but she certainly did it the right way. On Saturday afternoon, our feature was the Grade 3 $500,000 Razerback Handicap for older horses on the road to the Oaklawn Handicap. Here's a look at Magnitude's win in this race this year. Magnitude got a 102 buyer for this, won by about 4 with Jose Ortiz aboard, who was in town to ride. This Steve Asmussen trainee, he was on the wrong lead down the lane for a little while, but he swapped to the correct lead and finished up the job pretty nicely here. I like the way that he relaxed early in the race. This is a horse that they've really had to work on him mentally to not go. He's a high energy type of colt, and he's one that really just sort of wants to take a hold of the bit and run. They have worked with him for a long time, trying to get him to relax. I like that he relaxed off the pace setter and eventual second place finisher, knew what's new, and was able to kick on. Now, he still showed a little bit of greenness down the lane. I don't think it was necessarily the fact that he was tired, because once he swapped to the correct lead again in deep stretch, he was able to kick on and galloped out good. Just sort of playing around out there. He's still got some lessons to learn based on how he was swapping leads. Nonetheless, he's a very nice horse. His class really showed. Magnitude, a Grade 2 winner. He won the Clark Handicap over the fall. He was second in the Pennsylvania Derby. He won the Iowa Derby at Prairie Meadows. He's always been a very nice horse, Magnitude. Getting better as he gets older, sort of like another Steve Asmussen Winchell horse named Gunrunner. Magnitude, good effort from him, and I love the effort from New What's New, the runner-up finisher. He'd broken his maiden just 2 starts ago, then won an allowance race. Both times earned triple-digit buyers. Got a 96 buyer for this. But New What's New, even though the buyer speed figure regressed just a little bit off his last 2 with Lasix, running without Lasix this time, I still thought it was a tremendous effort for a horse that didn't break his maiden that long ago, up against the seasoned class horse, and New What's New, certainly a graded stakes caliber horse. If we were to find an overnight stake, maybe like the American Pharoah Overnight Stakes come Arkansas Derby Day, he'd be awfully tough in a race like that. So New What's New magnitude, good efforts from them in the Razerback Handicap. Sunday afternoon, of course, was a big day for us. And Sunday, we're going to talk about not only the stakes races, but some stakes caliber horses running. And we start with Tejano Twist. This was not a stakes race. It was a dated allowance. Let's take a look at his replay here. This was an effort from him that we have seen when he gets a fast pace to run into, which he did. He ran very well, got a 99 buyer for this. He needs a pace setup. He's the type of horse that is a little bit tricky to ride too, so you really got to ride him the right way. You got to move at the right time. You can't move too early. You can't get after him too early. He's a deep closer with a big stretch kick when he gets a pace to run into. Flavien Prat was aboard here, and coincidentally, Flavien, even though he doesn't ride here full time, the only time we've seen him win as of late in his past 8 starts or so was actually with Flavien aboard last year. So Flavien has really done well with this horse. Booth, the Count Fleet winner last year, making his first start in about 8 months for Steve Asmussen. He had a compromised trip. He was close to the pace. He got the lead early on in the race, and the other pace presence in the race, Ola Joey, broke slowly. Ridiculous tactics from Ola Joey to rush up into the pace after missing the break. They went 21-2 on the lead, so really with Ola Joey missing the break, he must have gone close to 21 flat. It was a ridiculous pace, and Booth never had a shot with Tejano Twist behind after that setup. But I thought it was a good starting point for Booth. I think he can improve next time out, especially with a little bit of a better pace scenario. That was Sunday's third race, a dated allowance race. Then we go to the first stake of the day on Rebel Day Sunday. This was the Pig Trail Overnight Stakes at 1.5 miles, a newly written race that our racing secretary, Pat Pope, came up with this year. And for Rebel Day, we kicked off the stakes action with this. Batten Down, supplemented into this race by trainer Bill Mott, was not originally nominated for this race, was supplemented, paid extra to run in the race and enter. And Johnny V, John Velasquez, the Hall of Famer, was aboard for the Mott barn here. Batten Down won this race very convincingly. He's a very royally bred horse. By Tappet, out of the Grade 1 winner, Close Hatches, she banked over $2.9 million. I thought Batten Down ran really well here. There are a good amount of 1.5 miles, as we call it here in America, marathon distance races for a horse like him. I think Bill Mott realized this horse doesn't really have quite the talent to be competitive in a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic and all these classic races at 1.25 miles. And he probably wants more distance than 1 mile. So with that in mind, he's got the pedigree for it. They tried him at 1.5 miles here. It worked out tremendously for them. And I would imagine Bill Mott is thinking, this is my marathon horse this year. We can win some good races. There are some good pots at 1 3/8 miles, 1.5 miles. Who knows? Maybe they try him on the turf in these long distance races. You never know. I'm thinking maybe they just keep him on the dirt and try to run him in these 1.5 mile races, and maybe he can improve and do well. This is a horse here that clearly has ability, but he just needs to find the right spot. He found it. He beat Catching Freedom, who of course is a Louisiana Derby winner. Catching Freedom won the Smarty Jones here a couple of years back. Hasn't quite gotten good from his 3-year-old year in terms of progressing into a really good older horse, but I think Batten Down, he will have to face tougher than Catching Freedom in other races down the road at these longer distances. But I think Bill Mott really finding the right spot for this horse, which is going long in these marathon races where this horse clearly can stay all day. We go to the Honeybee Stakes, a $750,000 Grade 3 event. The winner was the favorite. Here's the replay. Explorer for Bob Baffert. Bob's won pretty much every good dirt race around the world except for the Saudi Cup and the Honeybee. And he picked up his first Honeybee Stakes win here, believe it or not, with Flavien Prat, who was aboard, got another win here. Explorer has never finished worse than second in 7 starts now. And she earned 50 Kentucky Oaks points for this win. It was a very, very solid effort, very workmanlike. It was a good field. I thought that looking at this race, she got a perfect trip under Flavien. And this runner here is one that clearly has never run a bad race. One thing I liked about her race here is that she settled right off the pace and was very push-button. She didn't run off. A lot of Bob Baffert horses, they've got a lot of speed, but she relaxes beautifully. And when she kicked on, she did everything right. Switched leads when she needed to in upper stretch, dug in, outfinished a runner, Counting Stars, who clearly has a lot of ability. Explorer in this race. She, I think, with this, really stamped herself as possibly at this point to this day the Kentucky Oaks favorite at this point. I don't see any filly right now with all the performances around the country that has as good as a resume and as good of numbers as she does. So I don't think she's unbeatable necessarily, but I also think that she is the Kentucky Oaks favorite at this point in time off that run. Maybe we'll see her in the fantasy. Maybe she'll stay home. We'll talk about runner-up Counting Stars. She ran extremely poorly in the Martha Washington at 3-5. Basically decided that she didn't want to run and was eased that day. But she came back. She won the Year's End Stakes 2 starts ago, so we know that she has ability. And she came back and showed her best race. Came with her A+ race. I thought she did everything right. Sat off the speed a little farther back than we saw when she won the Year's End Stakes. Made a move on the far turn. Continued that run. Tried really hard. Gamely to the wire. I thought Counting Stars ran a really gallant race in defeat, went second best. Search Party, who won the Martha Washington, ran fourth. She's a lighter frame filly. Mark Casse wasn't quite sure if she was ready to wheel back as quickly as Counting Stars off that Martha Washington Stakes win. They were sort of going back and forth whether they wanted to wait till the fantasy or run in this race. They ended up saying, you know, she's training good. She's feeling good. Let's run her in this race. And she ran an okay fourth. I thought her race, like I said, was okay. She is one that at this point needs to show us that she has more ability to where Kentucky Oaks, top contender, I don't know about that. She might just be a second-tier 3-year-old filly. Very nice filly, can do some good work down the road, but she will need to improve. It'll also be interesting to where Mark Casse places her because, again, she's one that, unlike Counting Stars, according to Mark Casse, before this race, maybe she wants a little more spacing with regards to her races. So Search Party, I thought she ran fine. One runner that disappointed was Taken by the Wind. She was one that was undefeated coming into this race, won the Pocahontas Stakes as a 2-year-old filly at Churchill. She won a Silver Bullet Day Stake, or the Silver Bullet Day Stake, off the layoff at Fairgrounds for trainer Kenny McPeak, and she went off as the second choice in this race. Sat outside of horses, stalked the pace, was done by about the 5/16 pole midway on the far turn, and didn't do much running. Disappointing race for her. Back to the drawing board. At this point, we question how good she really is because even though she was a precocious 2-year-old, her Silver Bullet Day win, she got a very clear lead going at a slow pace, was still able to win, but she didn't beat a great field that day, and then this time around she came back and ran poorly. So how good Taken by the Wind is, we don't quite know, but she's another one like Search Party, obviously off that last race, needs to improve. Let's talk about the Rebel, shall we? A couple of races after the Grade 3 $750,000 Honeybee for 3-year-old fillies. The boys, the Colts and Geldings, get their turn. $1 million Grade 2 here with a field of 9 signed on. And what a game win here from the victor, Class President. He is inside here with Johnny V. John Velasquez aboard for trainer Todd Pletcher. Outside Silent Tactic, the Southwest winner, with Christian Torres for the Mark Casse barn. Very, very game win. Class President here out of a stakes-winning router named Top Quality. Full circle moment, I actually called Top Quality in a number of her races at Emerald Downs about a decade ago. Class President, I thought Johnny V's ride was masterful. He's one of the top riders in the world, and he showed it here even at the ripe age of 54, that Johnny V still has it, which is an incredible feat, an amazing athlete. I just thought he's the type of rider, too. He always saves something for the end when he's in a stretch battle. And really, this horse was headed down the lane. Johnny V went to the left hand. This horse responded, outfinished Silent Tactic. Very game effort. It'll be interesting. He's by Uncle Mo. Some of the Uncle Mo's, they can go 1.25 miles. Others, they sort of have the distance limitation here. I question whether Class President wants to go 1.25 miles right here. I think his next race at 1.8 miles, the last round of Derby preps, we're going to see if he runs in that. I would imagine he's going to run in something before the Kentucky Derby. I doubt they're going to train him into the race, but that's a possibility. I would like to see if Class President is this type of horse who's a really solid 1.16 miles, 1.125 mile horse, or whether he wants to go 1.25 miles. I think going 1.125 miles next time, if we can see that race from him, we'll get a better indication of exactly whether he's ready to go 1.25 miles. But I thought this was a very good race. First start, 2 turns. I just love the grittiness. I love the fact that this horse dug in when he had lost the lead. And if you can find a replay of the drone shot, the top basically from the sky shot, you'll see this horse basically had a quarter of a length loss at that point at the 8th pole behind Silent Tactic, and he re-rallied and won. Silent Tactic, I thought he ran a very good race. He was a little bit closer than we saw when he won the Southwest Stakes. I talked to Christian Torres after the race. He told me one of the things was the track was playing a little bit towards speed. It wasn't super speed biased, but horses that were stalking and up front were finishing very well. So Christian said, I didn't want to be too far back. We went over that game plan in the paddock, and I thought this horse ran a super good race. Yes, he lost the race, but I think this horse is going to be better with distance. I think he's going to be better when he can sit off and make a run. I think they made the exact right choice to sit a little bit closer than usual just because of the track profile. And he got the lead, and then I don't think he hung. Some people thought he hung. He sort of waited for the other horse. I do not believe that. I think they were both trying really hard to the wire, and I thought Silent Tactic and Class President, both runners, A-plus efforts. I think Silent Tactic ran a winning race. He just got edged out in that final stride or two, and I'm excited to see Silent Tactic in the Arkansas Derby and even in the Kentucky Derby. This horse is going to love 10 furlongs, and he's going to love a pace which he will likely get to run into in the Kentucky Derby. Litmus Test, the favorite in the Rebel. He ran well enough. He went to the lead. Bob Baffert after the race noting he feels like this horse is maybe a horse that wants to take back and make a run, unlike a lot of Bob Baffert trainees that have speed and try to carry it. I thought this horse got things his own way personally on the lead. I didn't think there were that many excuses. His connections seemed to feel that maybe he did come up with a B effort. He would have had to come up with a much better effort to win this race. He would have had to come with his A-plus race. Word on the street, according to the Pollock report this morning, is that Litmus Test will come back here for the Arkansas Derby with a rematch with Silent Tactic. Not to be the case for Class President, most likely. Todd Pletcher already has another Arkansas Derby contender in the Sam F. Davis winner Renegade. I thought Litmus Test, honestly, was overbet. You look at who he beat last time out, Blacksmith in the Los Alamitos Futurity, not a Kentucky Derby type of horse. This was a much tougher field. I question if Litmus Test is a little bit on the overhyped side. I think next time out he needs to show us that he has that ability to be a Derby contender, because in my opinion, we haven't quite seen it yet. He's been around in races. He ran in a Grade 1 at Keeneland in the fall, ran a really good third behind Ted Naffy, but he hasn't shown he's a top contender to this point in time, and I didn't think he had a bad trip. Blackout time, he ran 4th. He ran 2nd in that Grade 1 at Keeneland, then was scratched by the vet panel at the Breeders' Cup. I thought Blackout time in his first race since October, this was a good enough effort from him. He ran 4th. He made a move on the far turn, looming up pretty in the hands under Brian Hernandez, and wasn't able to quite kick on with the top 3. Looked like a horse that very much needed that race, and this was a really strong, good group, I think, for a 3-year-old prep. So the fact he didn't win this race, and the fact that maybe he wasn't 100% cranked up, he only had 6 works leading into this race since October, I'm willing to give him a pass. I think he can improve second off the break. I think he'll be more live in the Arkansas Derby next time around. He'll have some lengths to make up on a runner like Silent Tactic, but he is one that certainly I think can improve. Soldier and Diplomat, he ran 2nd in the Southwest. He had a horrible trip. Was 7 wide into the first turn. There were 7 horses who lined up. He got caught wide. He got shuffled to the back of the field as Jose Ortiz was trying to get him over. He was too far back. He ran 5th. Probably not a Kentucky Derby horse. At the same time, horrible trip, scratched the race out. Strategic Risk, our Smarty Jones winner, back-to-back subpar efforts, back to the drawing board for him. He's gotten perfect trips in his races that he's won. The Smarty Jones in a Florida-bred stake, not a Derby horse, probably needs to find a little bit easier company. That's my Rebel analysis. A lot of trips and horses to go over. And we've got one more segment for you here before we take a little break. Up-and-comers. Let's talk about our up-and-comers here. Thursday afternoon, this past Thursday, we saw Sticker Shock for Brad Cox getting the job done, a maiden winner in November. Here's the replay, and Sticker Shock was very game in this effort, holding off last week's Clocker Pick of the Week, Scott's Law. Ran a good race. Look at the size difference between these two. Sticker Shock earned an 87 buyer. A good effort, game effort, off the layoff. According to trainer Brad Cox, she'll be competing next in the Fantasy, $1 million race here the day before the Arkansas Derby. So we're excited to see Sticker Shock second off a layoff. 3-year-old filly here trying to stamp herself as a Kentucky Oaks contender. next time out in the fantasy, it'll be a tougher group, but she ran well here. I like the grittiness that she showed. And then on Saturday afternoon, before the Honeybee and the Rebel, we saw Fancy Fairlane for Greg Foley, who trains in Louisiana and Kentucky, get the job done here. John Velasquez, his third win on the program here. Fancy Fairlane ran so well with this 87 buyer. He was recognized as a TDN rising star for this. Little green down the lane. He swapped to the wrong lead, was trying to lug in a little bit, but once he switched to the correct lead and straightened up, drew off from his company, won by 5. A son of McKinsey here. Keep this in mind. His only other race he ran second. He got run down that day by none other than Grade 3 LeCompte winner Golden Tempo, who we're going to see in the Louisiana Derby on the Derby Trail, and he finished ahead of 2 next out winners, Fancy Fairlane. So Fancy Fairlane, this horse could be a really nice horse. By McKinsey out of a Sky Mesa mare, Sticker Shock, and Fancy Fairlane, 2 up-and-comers that you're going to want to keep your eye on down the road as they move into their next races. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk about a number of good races coming up this week. Don't go away. Welcome back, everybody. Let's get to this week coming up here at Oaklawn. The fun doesn't stop. We don't have any sort of hangover here when it comes to great racing from Rebel Week into this week. We've got more good horses, more good races. Let's go through each day here. We start on Thursday afternoon. Race number 4, by the way, begins the $1 Class 6. It's a traditional pick 6, $1 minimum, as I said. And we have a carryover, $53,600. Pretty much carried over there, $697 to be exact, and that $53,000 carryover should produce a good amount of new money. That'll begin with race 4 on the 9-race program. Race number 5 is a first-level allowance for 3-year-old sprinters. Stradale is the one to beat. $1.3 million sale purchase here. Was third most recently behind the Bob Baffert-trained Boyd in the Ed Brown Stakes at Churchill Downs in November. He makes his 3-year-old debut here. Here's his last replay when he broke his maiden. This is not the stakes race. This is when he broke his maiden in a large field at Churchill Downs. Really nice horse here. He's a potential single in this race. I think he's a much faster horse than any of the horses assembled in this race, even though a couple of them, like Swung, for example, are stakes placed here at Oaklawn already. I think Stradale freshening up. He's gotten some time. This is a good starting spot for him, but I think he's a much faster horse than the horses in here. Looking forward to seeing how Stradale does for his 3-year-old debut for Kaleem Shah and trainer Steve Asmussen. Race number 6 on the program, really good maiden special weight race here. There's going to be 2 scratches in the race. Rags and American Missy, they are both re-entered in a race later this week. So we're down to a field of 9, and this will certainly help with these 2 scratches. The outside horse, Cognizant, my top pick in the race. Let's take a look at her stretch run here last time out. She was trying routing second time out. And as you can see here, she is number 2 in this race. Just gets blocked behind horses, has a ton of run, nowhere to go, and by the time she finds some space, the race is over for the win. However, I like that Eric Asmussen, who was aboard, kept riding her hard even when he got out, knew he wasn't going to win the race, to teach her to finish, and she ended up getting up for 3rd. Cognizant, very much a trip play. She's a half-sibling to Disarm, who's a very nice stakes caliber horse at his top peak in his career, Disarm was. I like this filly, second time routing. Outside, hopefully she doesn't get parked too wide, but I also hope that she gets a clear trip down the lane. Another trip play in here, Warrior Sophie, that people are going to pay attention to. $450,000 sale purchase by Justify. Here's the start of her debut. Break out of the gate. She's number 6 in here, and she broke okay, like just coming out of the gate, but then it almost looked like she took up and was a little bit hesitant to go on with the field, and you can see that she's not even on the screen early on down the backstretch run. Now, we swap to the stretch run. She's still not on the screen at the 8th pole, but you're going to see her very late on the screen as they hit the wire, come with a run for 4th, and gallop out okay. This is a filly that In the mornings, watching her work, she never really worked that strong. She was getting outworked by company. Maybe she wants more ground. She certainly has the pedigree for it. I prefer Cognizant, but both runners are trip plays in race number 6, a maiden special weight for 3-year-old fillies going 2 turns. The 7th race on the program, a ratings handicap race at 1 mile and a 16th. This one for horses that have an Equibase speed rating of 78 to 88. So we implemented that this year. Equibase did anyway. Equibase speed ratings. These are not buyer speed figures. They're not speed ratings in terms of Equibase speed figures. They're a specific rating given to horses based on ranking. We see a lot of ratings races overseas in Hong Kong, for example, and horses that have a number of 78 to 88 eligible for this race. We've got a good one coming back to the races here. Saudi Crown, who the last time we saw him at Oaklawn, he nosed out a Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Dan, in the Lake Ouachita on closing day last year. Here's the replay of that effort here. Very game win. Saudi Crown, one that likes to be close. He's a Grade 1 winner. He won the Pennsylvania Derby a couple years back. I think Saudi Crown, good starting spot for him. Good amount of pace in this race. You've got a couple other really nice horses in here. Ben Doog is one that is stakes placed and really a solid horse. So with that in mind, I'm thinking Saudi Crown, finding a good field, but he is the class. Even money on the morning line for him. And then we go to race number 8. Good races continue on Thursday. Really a top quality card for a Thursday program. Race 8, a second level allowance. Stiglitz. He is the morning line favorite at 4 to 5. Why is he that low? Well, his first level allowance win on January 3rd was nothing short of spectacular. Let's take a look at that win. He got a clear lead here and drew off and won by open lengths, went 108 and 4, stopped the clock in that time. He got a 106 buyer for this. This was a massive race. Can we expect him to run back to this race? I don't know. It's going to be an awfully hard thing to do. If he can, we're talking about a serious sprinter on our hands. But he can regress a little bit and still beat this field. Now, there is other good horses in this race. You've got Vital Mind, number 2. He's a $600,000 purchase that has continuously progressed for trainer Steve Asmussen. Let's take a look at his win in a first-level allowance, facing second-level allowance company. He did lose to Stiglitz in that January 3rd heat by over 6 lengths, so he's going to need to improve. But I like that Vital Mind in this race. Sat off the pace, kicked on when getting outside under the left-handed stick. He is a horse with a lot of talent, and Vital Mind is certainly a main contender, as is Second ID, a horse that has been the bridesmaid behind stakes horses, Dreamin' Blue, Roll On Big Joe, Rivet, Tejano Twist. So Second ID, he certainly fits with this field. He drops post position number 8 for the Young Racing Stable. A good card on Thursday, obviously. We go to Friday afternoon. Race number 4 is a second level allowance for fillies and mares at 1 mile and a 16th. Lemon Zest had a bad trip in the overnight sports, or the Oaklawn Sports overnight, won by none other than Neera Zuri, and she usually likes to be close. That day she was too far behind. I'm not sure tactically what was going on there. The track was speed favoring, crossed the race out. She's a better horse than the ones in here. This is a good race here. I think she's the best horse in the race. She's 2 to 1 on the morning line here. Lemon Zest, a Godolphin homebred. Second level allowance foes here she finds, and she actually placed in the Grade 2 Mother Goose at Belmont at Aqueduct a few months back. So Lemon Zest, already a graded stakes placed filly. She's in race 4 on Friday afternoon. Race number 9 is a ratings handicap race. This one, unlike the boys going long with Saudi Crown, they're going 1 mile and a 16th there. This race is for filly and mare sprinters at 6 furlongs who have earned a 75 to 85 Equibase rating. The second and third place finishers in the American Beauty Stakes last month, Esternia and Benedetta, they're both entered here. Here's their replay where they ran second and third in this race. Both runners are the horses to beat. They're the class horses in the race. They entered in the Carousel Stakes, which was supposed to be run on Rebel Day, and that race did not fill, so they moved into Plan B this race here. Also in this race, a Louisiana bred stake winner, Mo For Us, entered as a recent allowance winner as well, Filly Crystal. So it's a good race, race number 9, a ratings handicap race on Friday afternoon. Saturday afternoon, not only our feature race on the day, but the feature race all week, race number 9 of 11. Let's get to Saturday's feature, the Grade 2 $400,000 Azeri Stakes at 1 mile and a 16th. Here's the field. A couple of Grade 1 winners in this race. Lakara's entered. She won the Grade 1 Acorn at Saratoga. And Nitrogen, she won the Grade 1 Alabama at Saratoga this summer as well. We're going to start by taking a look at Nitrogen's win. in the Grade 3 Bayakoa. She beat Azeri, her stablemate, that day. Here's the race. I thought this was a really good effort from her. She got a career-high speed figure, but on top of that, since the Breeders' Cup in November, she only had worked 3 times. So the fitness definitely wasn't there. She swapped to the wrong lead down the lane. This was not greenness. This was a filly that was just saying, okay, I'm getting a little bit tired here after not having a lot of morning foundation. She also missed some training time when we had bad weather in January. So there is no way she was 100% cranked to win this, and she still did anyway over a very nice filly in Azeri. This filly, as Mark Cassey says, breathes different air. I mean, she is just a very, very good horse. And on top of that, I think she's one that will take a step forward, improve as a 4-year-old versus last year as a 3-year-old. Lacara, she ran pretty poorly in the Grade 3 Sam Houston Ladies Classic. That was over the wet going, and she was coming off a layoff that day. I give that race a pass. The track was a mess. It was just wet. It was sloppy, muddy. Some horses took to it, others didn't. Let's take a look at a better race from her. This was in the Grade 1 Acorn, and Lacara, I love this race from her. I thought she ran really good this day. Lacara, looking for a fast track on Saturday. We could have some wet weather in the forecast this week, so keep an eye on that. But I'm thinking Lacara in this spot should be a little bit more competitive. I crossed her last race out. I think there was a legitimate excuse there. Also entered the Sam Houston Ladies Classic winner, Perfect Shot. She is back in for Steve Asmussen. American Beauty Stakes winner, Majestic Oops, getting back to the route game. She looked fantastic sprinting. She's trying routing here in the Grade 2 Azeri once again. She's hit the board routing. She was third in the Molly Pitcher, a $500,000 race at Monmouth on Haskell Day that I called last year, coincidentally. Also last year's fantasy winner, Quiet Side's in here, Delaware Handicap victor, Renegade, or rather Regaled, I'm sorry, Renegade's running in the Arkansas Derby. Regaled for Whit Beckman, the Delaware Handicap winner. She's also entered in Pippin Stakes winner and runner-up in the Sam Houston Ladies Classic. Standout Sensation, she is entered for Tom Amis. So a really good field, race 9 of 11 on Saturday. Race number 10, a first-level allowance. Let's take a look at Publisher. And Publisher's last win came here in this maiden race. It took him 13 times to break his maiden. Remember, this horse ran second in the Arkansas Derby last year. I thought it was a really good effort from him. He was loaded on the turn, took off when asked, won for fun. Maybe the light bulb angle's in play here. He's always been a good horse. That 0 for 13 heading into the race, or 0 for 12, I should say. Maybe that can be taken with a grain of salt based on who he's been running against before that maiden win. In against winners for the first time. Should be fun to see Publisher in against winners. Good horse, son of American Pharoah. They've always liked it. Has always run well. Just hasn't been able to win a race until a few weeks ago. But he's entered back for Steve Asmussen in the 10th race right after the Azeri. Finally, on Sunday afternoon, race 8 is our feature race, a second-level allowance race. It's a good route race. And the horse to beat, I think, in here is Stars and Stripes, number 8, for Bill Mott, who, interestingly, has 3 or 4 horses entered this week here, sending them a van from his Florida string down there all the way here to Hot Springs. And Stars and Stripes draws an outside post for this with Luis Saez. Has always been well regarded. Here's his win at Saratoga. It was a big win, too. Was last seen finishing second ahead of none other than Batten Down, who won the Pig Trail Overnight Stakes this past weekend. So Stars and Stripes finished ahead of that one in a second-level allowance race in Florida, in a second-level allowance race here. Luis Saez has the call. And by the way, speaking of Luis Saez, we wish him the best of luck. After this week, Luis will be moving along to Florida. He's had a good meet here, made a lot of money, won some stakes races. We wish Luis the very best, and surely he will continue to have a great year and thrive as he always does. Very good rider, Luis Saez. Finally, I've got a Denny's Clocker pick of the week. Let's get to it. Race number 3 on Sunday, I have my Denny's Clocker pick of the week. Her name is Diamond in the Rough. Let's take a look at this workout here. This is a maiden optional claiming race she's entered in for $75,000. She was the runner-up in a maiden $30,000 sprint. And now trainer Chris Hartman is bumping her up in class after this drill. So maybe this filly's doing really well, and Chris Hartman can see that. She needs to improve on paper. Freshens up 2 months for this. But based on her work, she may be ready to run her best race. And I love this work. Easily dispatched of a workmate. continued her work into the first turn. The work was not finished at the wire. She started her work later in the drill than maybe starting at the 5 furlong pole, ending at the wire. She started pretty much on the far turn, but I love the way she finished up here, looking really good. Diamonds in the rough. She is number 3 in race 3 on Sunday afternoon. That does it for another edition of Out of the Starting Gate. We had a lot of content to cover. Remember that Pick 6 carryover on Thursday of $53,000 begins in race number 4. And on Saturday, it's Kids Day here at the track. The first 500 youngsters in the grandstand receive free ice cream. You can pick up your voucher once you get in the doors here. It should be a great family day on Saturday. Should be a great racing week all week here at Oaklawn. I'm your track announcer, Matt Dinerman, wishing you a very good week. Make some money, and we'll see you next week on another edition of Out of the Starting Gate. Have a good week.